Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Bloop and a Blast podcast. My name is Big Sexy. I'm the Bloop. His name's Luke Hughes. He's the Blast. Hughesy, I'm going to take this one, mate. I've got it because we've got a very special guest, Lismore guy, ex-player, rugby league professional player as well, I want to say. Baseball administrator, long-time umpire, ABL umpire. You might have known him as the guy that stays in the solarium too long when you see him there calling balls and strikes. It's Paul Latta, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast, Lats. It's good to have you here, mate.
Thanks, JJ. Thanks for the invite, mate.
No sweat, no sweat. Look, I know this is for me. I was thinking about this driving home today, and I was like, man, this is going to be fun because, like, it's going to be like when, you know, if you listen to podcasts of like bikies, ex-bikies and ex-cops, like having a chat. You know what I mean? Like Hughesy's very anti-umpire. I shouldn't say that. You're not very anti-umpires. You're not at all, actually. But in your playing career, you might have been known as someone that wasn't maybe the umpire's best friend. Yeah?
Look,
is that fair?
I like to defend myself a little bit here, and I've changed my ways. All right,
He's gotten old.
I've matured.
Hughesy's the bikie, obviously.
Well, you're the law, right? You guys are the law, so it makes sense. But I mean, it is an interesting, and I've been telling Hughesy I really want to talk to you because I think you've got a really interesting story, Lats. And like coming from a guy that's first of all, you've been around the league in the ABL since what were you in the inception of this modern era of the ABL umpiring? Is that correct?
Yeah, so about 2005-06 is when I started. So
okay,
the old Claxton Shield and into the new ABL.
Right, so there was that, and then previous to that, as I sort of mentioned, you spent some time with the Hunter Eagles, correct?
Yeah, had one season with the Hunter Eagles, and had a lot of fun. Obviously, couldn't make the cut on the Gold Coast at the time, and got the invite to go down there, so it was good fun.
Yeah, and then prior to that, I think, and see, I've known you for a long time. Obviously, we're both Lismore guys. Won't bring it up because Hughesy loves it when I bring up Lismore baseball. But I've known you for ages, mate, and I've known you've been involved with baseball. You used to play. We've played together. We've played against each other, as well as had you umpire plenty of my games. And luckily, I've never been dumped by Paul Latta, which is good. We got along pretty well. But also knowing this rugby league side of you as well, which to a lot of our eastern states listeners, they would understand the game a little bit more than the west and the south. But rugby league's been a huge part of your life as far as playing professionally as well as refereeing, correct?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to come out of juniors and hit the representative scene playing league. A couple of years after that, the Gold Coast Seagulls, who then became the Gold Coast Chargers, who are now the Gold Coast Titans. I was lucky enough to have 2 years within the organisation. Really enjoyable. I got to experience playing in the World Sevens in 2 consecutive years, and then obviously got released shortly thereafter.
Happens to the best of us, mate. I know exactly how you feel. No.
Did you get released from Lismore baseball? Did they get rid of you?
Yeah, they did. They got rid of me.
Yeah. Is that why you came to Perth?
No, pretty much. Yeah.
No club wants me.
I think he was talking about me, Hughesy. I think he was Lats. I think he was talking about me. You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
That was a definite dig at Sexy.
You saw his stats over here, obviously.
No, he talked a big game up, and when he moved over to Perth, I did have a quick look, and he's like, mate, I think I can play Division 1 for you guys over there in Perth.
Didn't. That is bullshit. I'm going to call it straight off the rip. So I play for Morley Eagles, Lats, and we've got Kieran Hall, we've got Warwick Soppold, we've got Ulrich Boyarski, all these guys.
Oh, don't worry about Alex
Hall. Sorry, Alex.
Jess Williams, the guys
brothers.
that actually grew up playing baseball there, not the guys that have moved from other clubs to come play at Morley.
Yeah, Hughesy's testy, man. He gets a bit on edge. But I'm like, I'm not going to play your top grade, mate. I'm not good enough to play with these guys. So you're off your head. So, anyways, that's another dig. But yeah. So let's get.
I'll send some stats over, Hughesy.
Oh,
my stats back home were good, man. The last 3 years, they were great. Anyway.
Little league.
Yeah, Little League, basically. Let's move into it. So it's just interesting. Like, I mean, having an umpire that's obviously played the game and has been around the game for so long, and also just professional sport, I think is quite interesting to me, and it's a part of your story. But let's go back to sort of your first foray into umpiring. What sort of led you into umpiring and sort of started, obviously I know that you went to Jim Evans Academy, which is now sort of no longer running as that name, which was the umpire school in Florida. We went there with you went there with my dad, which is quite funny. But you so what? Let's go back before that though. What sort of made you dip your toe in the water there with umpiring?
I had a knee reconstruction back in around the 2000 mark. Part of the rehabilitation was a lot of squatting, straight line running. So because I was already involved in baseball as a junior running up, I just took the opportunity to still be involved. Took up umpiring. A couple of seasons of doing that, off doing some state championships up in Queensland. We were affiliated then. And Mal Mackay spotted me up at the state championships, sort of introduced me into that next level. The year after that, sent me off to Evans, with your father. And the year after that into the ABL. So it was a very fast track. Opportunities, obviously if there's spots are missing, someone has to fill them. And it sort of felt like from when I started, it was like fill a hole in Lismore, fill a hole in Brisbane, and the opportunity just come up. So I was very lucky and grateful.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially going over to Evans. What's it called now? What is it now? It's like a MLB thing, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, so
different?
Evans shut down. Wendelstadt still operates, and that was the other umpire camp. Now they have it's a weekend to get to the minor leagues. It's now a weekend camp, so
Wow.
you can still go to Wendelstadt. You can still go to another umpire school, but to actually get into the minor leagues, you've got to attend one of those weekends.
So you only need to do a weekend and then you qualify to umpire minor league baseball. Got it.
Hughie's blowing up already. I love it.
It explains a lot now to you, doesn't it, Hughesy?
Absolutely.
Do you ever have any real roughies? Do you ever have any real rough ones in the minors, Hughesy? Like real, just absolute shit shows?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the same thing as you progress through. Like we were horrible in rookie ball, right? And then as you progress through the levels, of course, they get better and better and better. And then I just always say it's so difficult for an umpire to get to the big leagues. Obviously, there's less of you going through it. And I think we've had some really good Australian umpires over there that didn't get the opportunity to be able to do that. Brett Robson clearly is one of those people that umpired AAA baseball and umpired, I won't say against me, but umpired in games together when I played. And, he didn't get a chance, right? And I thought he was one of the better ones. So it is understanding of how difficult it is. Latta, like for you, like the progression over the years, you said it happened really quick. You always have to feel a need and understand that. But coming into, I guess, umpiring at that level, what did you see the big changes or the differences? Was it the speed of the game or was it the level of play? Like what was the difference between, each year, as you said, only took you 3 years to get to that, I guess, ABL level?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it took me a little longer because obviously beating around Lismore for a few years before you got that door opening. But the biggest thing is obviously the speed of the game. Over the years, I've seen the quality improve year after year. They're starting to throw it harder. The way the game's played is a little different now that, a lot of Sydney's gone back to the, situation playing, bunning, running and whatever else. But there's still a lot of, the statistics of elevation, exit velocity and all that kind of stuff. So the big thing I've seen is obviously, just the speed of the game and the improvement of the game overall. So
yeah, it's interesting, and I guess that's sort of like a constant conversation. Hey, like, what level is it at now, and where is it? Sort of, but everyone says the same thing. It's improving. It's getting better and better. Okay, so then sort of fast forward to now. I mean, you've had so many interesting sort of things over the course of your career. You've done international series. You've done ABL Championship Series. Is there sort of one highlight in your umpiring career that you think sort of stands out for you? Is it, maybe seeing a bullet fly past you in Venezuela or like? So...
Yeah. Now I did go to the 2010 World Championships in Venezuela, the women's. And on day 2, the shortstop for the Hong Kong team was shot in the leg by a bullet, which did shut the tournament down for a day. Our umpiring crew was out at the Navy base that particular day, and then they brought us all back together in one room. And when they were talking about getting the tournament back and restarted, we're sitting in the umpire's room and the game's, talking about the game about to go ahead, and they're trying to get the umpire crew ready. And it's like, who wants to do it? And look around the room, no one's putting their hand up. Up goes my hand. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And just sort of just break the silence a bit. I started getting dressed and I put my breastplate on backwards, so it was on my back. And they're saying, what are you doing? I said, don't shoot me in the back. Shoot me in the front. It sort of broke the ice a little bit, and the tournament went on.
Yeah,
that was a nice tournament. Good to meet other countries, and but it's pretty hard to go past the Asia Pacific games that we just had in Tokyo. It was, it's just next level. The atmosphere of the Tokyo Dome, the 50,000 people just chanting songs, and you make a call against Japan, it's like a boo, but then they go straight back into their singing and chanting and trumpets. It's phenomenal. It's a great atmosphere.
Well, you bring that up, and it's interesting. I know as a player how loud it is, and an umpire, you're sitting there, say you're calling ball and strikes or whatever like that. How do you go locking in? I mean, calling balls and strikes in front of 50,000 people must be quite intense, especially when you're going up against a big team like Japan, Samurai Japan. It's like, how do you stay locked in for that, mate?
It was really interesting. So we sort of head over there for the tournament. It's like, okay, this is my first real big trip away. And we're doing a bit of the ground rules and having a bit of a look around. And it's like, they won't call me out for game 1. Surely not. Japan's playing game 1 against Korea, for example, and it's 4 letters on the plate. It's like, sphincter's really tight. It's a surreal atmosphere. It's you just get back into the norm. The muscle memory takes over. But the biggest thing I found was the communication across the diamond. You can't talk to your fellow umpires yelling across the diamond, because it's just, you just got to back old mate to be there, and you back your instincts. So, but yeah, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was good and then coming back down to the ABL, mate. So you go from that high back to the ABL. Yeah. I'm sure you umpired some baseball games there as well.
Yeah, so you come out of the Tokyo Dome, and your first game's back. Back at the Holloway doing bandits, and there's maybe 800 people yelling more abuse at you than the 50,000 did the week before.
At least when they yell at you in 50,000, you can't hear anything. You just hear like the murmur, and that's about it, right? But when there's 800 people floating around a grandstand, watch out.
Oh, yeah. It echoes. It's like you get abused twice.
Have you ever had anyone like... and we're not condoning umpire abuse, but have you ever had anyone say something to you that's just like, you've literally gone, oh, that's actually pretty good. Like, well done. Like, or is it mostly just, what are you doing? What are you doing? Is it like that kind of stuff? Or is there any real funny ones?
There's no doubt that there's been a few funny ones over the time that might shock you. So it's actually, there's no reply. It's like, oh, well, that was pretty good, actually. We had a series a couple of weeks ago in Adelaide where must have been the pitcher from Sydney throws fairly hard, Yamamoto or whatever. One of the guys that throw really hard anyway, and he's trying to pitch to McArdle, and McArdle said, "Oh, that's a bit too quick for you." And I turned around and said, "Not for me, buddy. That wasn't too quick for me. Maybe you." So you get that little joke here and there. And while I'm on those little comments, I know JJ, we spoke about it earlier today, and I do remember a time up at I think it was the RNA showground where one of our fellow attendees on this meeting was ejected on a Friday night for arguing balls and strikes.
Standard.
And I think Mr. Binky got him. Anyway, so the next night I rocked up to do the plate, and one of the first pitches this colleague gets, he thinks it's inside, and I call the strike, and he goes, "That's not a strike." It's something like, if that was a strike, I would have hit it. And I turned around and said, "You're not that good." I think you hit an inside the park home run.
We've had, I guess, my relationship with umpires over the years has been a bit topsy-turvy, to put it in better words. And I feel, and this is probably one of the questions I wanted to kind of ask you. There's, I guess, with players, certain players are a little bit different. Some, I always say this, my mum always said, "Why can't you be more like Trent Olchin? He just smiles and laughs on the baseball field and you're just angry constantly." And I said, "That's your fault because you brought me up that way, and Dad's fault because I've got the white line fever." The question to you is, being an ex-player, and I understand, I'm not condoning saying stuff to umpires or anything like that. Obviously, there's certain things and certain words and you can't say. Do you have, I guess, an understanding around, or a little bit more, I guess, feel for it, where you're like, heat of the moment, it wasn't directly swearing at me, you give them a little bit more leeway? Or is it like, do you have certain things that's just like, bang, you're done, or like, mate, you've had your opportunity to say something, move on?
Yeah, obviously there's certain words that trigger, your, certainly if you say your, obviously the ears prick up, just waiting for the next comment.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've found across a lot of the sports I do is, if you take the passion out of the sport, therefore it doesn't become an enjoyable spectacle for those participants or those watching. So obviously when a call doesn't go away, they're going to have that sudden outburst. Let it go. Only if it becomes personal or a constant outburst do you really need to deal with it. But if they just off the cuff whack, and then if they move, that's probably the, coming from as an ex-player, the sort of like the tolerance level's probably been a little bit easier for me, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that's across all sports that I'm finding it too. So, don't stand your ground, don't back yourself into a corner. Let him have his say, let him move on. But there's been certainly some good ones.
Let's dig into those. What? No, we're not trying. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here. And I don't think. Well, I asked Paul before if he's ever dumped you, and he said he hadn't. So the only thing that ever happened was that one at RNA. So you're sweet, bro. You're good.
Hey, respect level, mate. The respect is there.
Yeah. You've never dumped me, Paul, so that's good.
No, but I think I had you wired up one game, so we were both on the communications gear.
I was going to say that.
If memory serves me correctly, you will give me a bit of stick from the home plate to your dugout after I just punch you out at the plate.
I was going to bring this up because he still hasn't tagged me. So there's a video.
Is there?
There's a video that I'll share. So we did a mic'd up thing for our local league. And so I had a mic on and Latts had one too. It must have been the earpieces they used for the ABL. I don't know, whatever it was. Latts had them. So I had one. So I'm out in left field though. Like what you don't see in the video is I'm out in left field going to Latta. Is that a strike? Is that a strike? And I can't. I could hear him at first, but then I couldn't hear him after that. So all he could hear is just me just yabbering on, like he's trying to call balls and strikes, and I'm just going, hey, mate, hey. Absolute. Anyway, so the play in question, I get balls hit in the gap. I'm on first base, try to score from first base, usually because I've got wheels, and anyways, then the tag play at the plate. He still hasn't tagged me. Latts comes up with a big, he's out. And I just went, no way, you got to be joking me. And then, of course, at that point, I forgot that I was mic'd up. And the boys are going, did he get you? I go, not a chance, not a chance, right? Into the dugout. But it's all going directly into Paul's ear. So
was he out? Clearly he was out because you pumped him. So he had to be out.
Video proof.
If I don't see it, I can't call you out. So,
well, I'm going to post it on the socials on the Bloop Blast.
I've got two things. I've got two things there. What's the coach doing putting you in left field? Second to that, what are you trying to score from first base? We all know you're just like a station first base, or DH more so.
Low key. I think skinny.
As he rounded second base, I think the parachute went out too.
You can hear me running, and my sister's coaching third base, and I'm going, I'm coming. But anyways, have you had any good? Have you had any? Let's go back to, and I don't want to harp on about the ejections because there is some really interesting stuff that you guys are doing in the league at the moment that we will talk about. But what would be like one of the wildest ones? Have you had any in the ABL where the manager comes out and just says, "Mate, I've got to go. Can you throw me?" Have you had any of that old classics?
Yeah, I've had one manager ask me to be thrown. It was sort of like at first it's like, if I have to stay for this crap, so do you.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's like, okay, when do you want to go? Oh, I'll let you know, And it sort of just went backwards and forwards for a few innings, and then it was like, okay, had enough of you. See you later. Very low key. The ejection report is manager wanted to be dumped, so I dumped him.
It's simple.
But
Brett Robson said that to me. He said that. He's like, mate, I'm never going to throw you because if I have to umpire 9 innings, you have to play 9 innings. And I was like, come on, mate.
Yeah. If I have to put up with this crap for the whole 9, so do you.
Yeah, love that.
But yeah. Look, there's certainly been situations. I know Tommy, when he first come back from the States, him and Dingo didn't have a very good relationship for the first few series. Obviously, Dingo pushed the boundary. Tommy launches him, I think something like 6 games in a row.
Jeez.
It sort of got to the point where it was like, if you're going to be here for a while, so am I. Let's get back on board. And, the relationship that we have, in Brisbane in particular, has been pretty good with a lot of the teams. So, very fortunate that we haven't had a lot of ejections up there.
Well, and obviously we all know I don't play the ABL, right? Got it. But the games that I've been involved with you, Paul, I'll just jump in for you, Hughesy. The games I've been involved with you, mate, you've always been very approachable, and you can have your say, but obviously if you're not rude and that, and I mean that's just how it's supposed to be. I mean, there's certain things you don't ask about. We get that, but if you always you can have a chat. Hey, man, what was that? I didn't think you got the tag on me. Well, no, I reckon he did. So that kind of thing, but. Yeah, I mean, I can't see. I've had some other umpires that you can't say a word to, and
but I always say that being approachable as an umpire is like key, like number one thing. Like being able to have a conversation, being approachable, all that stuff like that. It's nearly one of the things that I feel at times gets taught out of the umpiring group. It's like certain states have certain rules, like you just can't say anything to the umpire. They're not approachable. You can't talk to them, and that's how they're being coached. Whereas I feel if you've got a personality. And, you're going to be there, as you said, you're going to umpire these guys every week in, week out, no matter what. Like, being approached, have a conversation, I think is great. And I think that you've done a great job of that, mate, over the years. And I think you're very approachable, and all players and coaches would say that, mate. So, hence why you never pumped me. So, But like Sexy was bringing something up before, and I'm really interested to hear, and he mentioned that you guys have been doing some stuff post-game, ABL games, and going back and looking at stuff, mate. Can you talk us through what that looks like for you guys? And I guess, debriefing after a series or after a game to see like what things, I guess, like what you need to work on, what you missed, what you got right, what you did really well.
Yeah. So basically it starts about 2 hours before game time. Our crews tend to meet at a coffee shop. We'll go through, if it's the first game of the series, all we're talking about is what's happened in other series, with the teams that are visiting or with the home team when they've been away. Has there been any, issues in those games that may pop its head up in this series? Just so we're not surprised when things like that pop up. Then obviously the game's performed. We have the ability now with technology where, particularly with Baseball Plus, we can go back and review our games. We're not so talking about, the wrong decisions that we make, but there's going to be a reason why the wrong decision was made. So whether we're, our timing's not right, or we're not in the right position, or our use of our eyes and other things aren't being utilized to its best function. So, we would spend, probably an hour and a half in the change room after our games, tearing the game apart, discussing what went on during the game. And then probably about another 2 hours when we get home, going back into the video, cutting out the film clips, sending them into the chat rooms. And then we go for the coffee the next day then we bring them all open and we start chatting about, the situations that happen in the game. So whether they're good, they're bad, there might be certain rotations or responsibilities that some of the umpires have picked up and adopted really well. So we'll commend them on that and obviously stuff, but just sometimes not getting in the right position. Obviously we have things like ejections or interference plays or balks. So we'll just cut films out, present it to the group, and it's like an educational tool as a group. We've been very lucky that we've got obviously Tom West on our panel up in Brisbane, and he's brought a lot of the stuff back from the States that we've been able to adopt in. Now it's just a matter of getting that education or the systems out countrywide. And I think we're on the right track as a national panel all over the place. I think we're starting to get the ball rolling in the right way. If we can make ourselves more professional and better, it's only better for the league as well. So, we've just got to be held accountable for our performances, just like a player does. Because we're basically the third team. If we're not performing well, why? Okay, what do we have to do to fix it to get back up to that level? So,
that's great. That's awesome. And I feel the time clearly would be quicker if everyone has a good game. Nothing goes on. I guess you start shooting the breeze about the rugby and the whatever else is going on in the world. But my biggest question out of that is, who buys the coffee round? Is it the person who's plating the game?
Crew
Are they
chief.
Up for the coffee? You can't be a crew chief.
Most of the time it's me in Brisbane. But if they all turn up at the same time, I'll normally buy the coffees. But if they're there early, they've already got one. If they're struggling late, bad luck, get your own.
I love that.
But so it's a good little camaraderie. It's a good bunch of mates. They know we're in it for the right reasons, and we're lucky. We're lucky to be a part.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's good for the fans to know too, like of the league, because open up Facebook every now and then, enter into a fans group. You'll find something that you you don't like or that they don't like about the umpires on such and such day and whatever. But it's good for them to know, if they're listening to this, they can say, oh, well, you know what, these guys are being held accountable, in their own community, and there might be repercussions. I'm sure there would be, and we're not, and I'm not looking for any of that kind of stuff either, Paul. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I'm sure there's repercussions. As if Lats goes out and has an absolute shocker, well, he might have a week off. He might sit on the bench, or he might, and not just necessarily punishment, but he's going to learn why that was so terrible. So I think it is good. It's good for the broader baseball community to hear that that's going on. So yeah,
no, you go. Sorry, mate.
You're right, and like a lot of the other states is that's jumping on board. So able to watch after our game, get home and the Perth series is on against Melbourne. And we're able to cut videos live as they're happening and shoot them into, say, Ryan. So when Ryan's having his meeting with his panel, he's able to, present some of the situations that occurred during the game as well. So
Ryan Harder,
as long as
you're talking about,
Ryan Harder,
met him the other day. Good guy.
So just being able the ability to make sure that people are doing it for the right reason, and it's not a critical critique. It's just a development critique. That's all it is. Make us get better.
Yeah. Sorry, Hughesy, you go.
No, I think I love that, by the way, because I know as players and coaches and we sit back at the end of the game and I do a debrief and normally I need about an hour. I always am one of the last people to leave the clubhouse because I need to make sure I've got all my thoughts done and dusted before walking out that door. And for many years, it's it's just one of those things, the debrief after the game, the debrief on the phone to, one of the boys or two of the boys driving back to the house. And I love the fact that you guys have taken that initiative and are doing that. I think it's fantastic. The one thing I always, and I think a lot of people are aware of this, it is quite difficult to, recruit, umpires across the country. I know it's every state probably is struggling with numbers. at that level, and especially as we progress forward into, you know, the ABL or national championships or whatever's been played. What are a few things up in Brizzy that you guys are doing to, I guess, one, try to help develop the younger umpires, or two, get younger umpires within the sport?
We do a lot of obviously seminars, training. One of the big things is the coaching and mentoring. So, for example, on a Saturday morning when the Bandits are in town, we'll have, if not all, the ABL umpires will go to a junior field in the morning, as well as the Barry Fotes, Dave Everetts, and those other guys who are looking after the Little League pathways. And all we're there is to show our face, make ourselves known to the umpires that are there, give them someone that they can contact if they've got any questions. We sit there and we watch the game. We give them a little bit of feedback, and we try to do that basically every week. We're seeing that our numbers are growing, the confidence of our umpires are growing, but there is a lot of time donated by those people around. So, it is a thankless job in a way, umpiring any sport, and then to donate that extra time back away from family and work is a big commitment for people as well. So it's basically to share the load, make sure people are putting their just an hour or two in every couple of weekends and doing the work. But I think it's starting to show benefits, particularly in Queensland anyway.
I've got a couple of questions. It's an interesting one though, and I don't want to and I know you wouldn't say this, but you told me about this before. Like your early on journey, right, into this, you were doing, for those that don't know, Lismore's about 3.5 hours away from Brisbane. You would sort of finish work on a Thursday, drive up, umpire the game, 3.5 hours, get in. Basically, some nights you drive home, go to work on a Friday, do the same thing Friday night, crash on a couch, all for maybe $50 and a high five, maybe a can of Coke, it takes a severe amount of commitment. And this is at that time, and not shit canning anything or like talking bad about the league or anything. I get it. Like that's where it was at and all of that. Like it's not anything negative out of this, but it's like it's more that, these guys are putting in a fair amount of commitment to either get better or continue on this dream of, trying to officiate at the top level. So I think it's, it's worth saying, and it's worth people understanding the amount of commitment that you guys put into this. So kudos to you.
Yeah, the first 10 years of the ABL was like driving up Thursday night, drive up Friday night. Obviously get back for work, or didn't really want to sleep on too many couches early in the piece. But it's just like a player. If you do want to get anywhere, you've actually got to do the hard yards. Basically, work on those fundamentals, work on the little things, just keep punching it out, hoping that the right person sees you at the right time, doing the right job. Hopefully a door opens. For some people that door never opens. For some people, the doors open very quickly. So, right now as a goal, for example, we've got, the Olympics in LA 2028. So now I'm competing, if Australia sends an umpire, with 24 plus National League umpires for that one spot. Westie being released makes that one spot a bit tougher as well. 2032, if baseball is at the Olympics in Brisbane, there may be a few doors open for a number of positions for Australia, but that's 8 years away. And can we keep doing it for another more 8 years at that level?
Do you reckon do you reckon I need to dust off my umpire's gear, Paul? Is that where pathway to Brisbane?
If memory serves me right, Jeremy, you actually joined the Lismore Umpires Association once.
Yeah, I was.
That didn't last very long. Yeah, it didn't last very long.
No, I was an umpire. I was an umpire for a fair few years throughout my juniors. Then I started playing senior baseball, and I was like, hell with this. Nah, it's just a joke. I got another question for you, and we'll wrap it up very shortly. But it's interesting to think about, considering the amount of change that. I mean, when did you go to Evans? When was that? When was Florida? Was that 2005? 2006?
2006.
I said that. I thought
January
that because I was in year 10 when Dad went to Evans with you, and I'm thinking to myself, I graduated. Anyway, doesn't matter. 2006. What changes in umpiring? And I'm interested to see if there is or if there's none at all, compared to what you were taught then. right? That would have been a huge deal. And I know from what Dad said, he was like, man, it was just mind blowing. Like the amount that you learn and just the things that you learn is just sensational. What's changed in that amount of time in the game, in umpiring? We know the game's changed a lot. It's moved more towards statistics, etc. Blah blah blah. But what's changed in the umpiring side of things?
Realistically, not much.
Do you think the strike zone has shifted a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it used to have the strike zone maybe that way, and now it's maybe more this way.
Yeah.
You sort of thought, don't miss that outside edge. So if I'm not going to miss that outside edge, it means I'm probably going to call a strike that's just off the plate to make sure I get the one that's on the plate. And now it's sort of like, well, don't let them go off the plate. Make sure we're in that box. And a lot of it's to do with technology and that box that appears on the TV in MLB. The umpires are more accountable with their statistics of percentage of calls right and how they manage a game and so on. So the old style of umpiring has basically gone out the window because it's all about making sure you get the call right every time. Whereas back then, if you set up an inch off the plate and the pitcher hits his spot, you're basically rewarding. There's a strike. Greg Maddux made a good career on it, just living on that outside edge or a little bit off the outside edge. But yeah, so as money in sport, probably gambling's got a bit to do with it, but yeah, just technology in particular has made even the umpiring side become more accurate. There's no vicinity play, double plays.
Mate, this is a great segue into, I guess, a question that I'm really interested to understand now is, with that technology, and it's only going to be implemented, at the higher levels, the automatic strike zone and what's obviously been tested in the minor leagues and some indie ball leagues and stuff like that, potentially coming into the major leagues. I guess taking that human element out of it. And I'm not a massive fan of it, to be honest with you. I do like the human element of, having the umpires call balls and strikes and stuff. And I've been out of the game for a long time now, but like, what are your thoughts on that? Does that, how does that go down amongst the umpires fraternity?
Well, we haven't really spoke about the, automatic strike zone or any of those things. I don't think that'll be beyond my time by time Australia receives that kind of technology or the money of investment to adopt that. I think it'll take a skill out of the game. It'll take the skill out of the catchers receiving the ball. If they've got just the box, it doesn't matter how they receive the ball, for example. I think it'll take a lot of the game management out in regards to the communication. Well, just blame the ear.
Yep.
And how accurate is that thing for the true sport of the game? I've certainly seen some videos where the automatic strike zone in live play doesn't look anywhere near a strike.
So when they catch it and pull it down, or like you catch it like catches it like this, and you're like, that's nowhere near a strike.
That's what I wanted to ask you. I want to ask you about this new craze of the new. It's not the new craze, but it is to me. You know how they're receiving the ball now, where it's like set a target, drop it, and then pull it up. Does it work? Is it easier for you? Because that's the whole idea, right?
It's actually harder. I prefer a catcher to hit it and stick it. If in a way, if you're dragging that ball to the strike zone, well, you're telling me it must have missed.
Well, so the thought, and correct me at any time if I'm wrong here, Hughesy, because you've probably got a bit more of a leg to stand on with this technical stuff. But the thought pattern is, right, so the catcher puts the glove out. Obviously, I'm a left-handed catcher, and gives the sign, puts the glove out, gives him the target, drops it to give the umpire a better view of the plate, yeah? And as the ball comes through, he wants to catch it on the up. Is that correct, Hughesy? Is that the idea, to give them the better view of the strike zone?
I don't think it's to get the... I don't think it's a better view for the strike zone. I think it's to get those borderline low pitches called for strikes.
Right.
Because as a pitcher, I think the most damaging pitch for a pitcher is throw it across the belt.
Yeah.
If you're going to hit you're going to hit knees. You're going to hit knees. That's like the protected zone. So if you're catching it just below the knees and you're on the up, it's going to look more like a strike than not. So you may be rewarded with some of those pitches that are slightly down.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah, it's
but,
interesting. It's interesting, the whole robo-ump thing as well as that. And then, I mean, the other thing that I kicked myself, and Hughesy's, we've lost him. He's gone, but that's all right. He texted me.
Just like a game.
Yeah, he's
just
out
like
of here. Yeah, he's just had enough.
Yeah,
He's done with it. Surprised we got him talking to an umpire for this long, to be honest, without blowing up. Hey? Nah.
I didn't get to the Outlaws with Luke Hughes, Short Hughes.
I bring up Short Fuse, Luke Hughes a lot. So don't worry, don't worry about it. He's all cool. He doesn't miss that at all. The thing I was going to ask you about it, and I kicked myself because I should have asked Gonzo about it. Do you see a time? And I think it's a natural progression. Rather than robo-umps, I think in the next 5 years, we probably see pitch clock in the ABL, right? Like, and I know I don't want you to say it like officially, but it sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Like from your perspective?
Yeah, look, trying to speed the game up is one of the biggest things. We're trying to make ourselves an entertaining sport, so we've got to speed it up a little. Experiences from the weekend, pitch clocks would have come in handy. I think the immediate fix could be the 2 pickoff rule. There's no capital required potentially just to adopt the 2 pickoff rule. Whereas if you're going to adopt the shot clock, I suppose we've only got 6 venues, but you have to put clock in the outfield, a clock on the back fence. Then you need someone to man the clock. So there is a bit of infrastructure and cost to go with that.
Yeah.
But if they want to make it the ultimate, sport entertainment wise, I think they'd have to go there. Yeah.
Sorry, Hughesy, as you rejoin us, I just asked Lats about pitch clock. I think that's the next logical step, and I kick myself every week. I think about it that I should have asked Gonzo if that's where we're going with it, because I feel like it ties in with the minor leaguers, it ties in with everything, development, and as Lats just said, the pickoff rule would probably be pretty advantageous as well. But again, I don't know, I feel like the league's games don't go too long. But anyways.
No, well, I think. Sorry, and I apologize for missing out a little bit, but
that's okay.
That pitch clock one is huge, and at the junior level too. Like I feel, junior level, local baseball, like games go for way too long. And if you watch some teams, and especially junior baseballs, they don't necessarily taught like run on and off the field. Get out there, throw your 8 pitches, let's get going. Let's try to play as many innings as possible. And the I guess time in between pitches is another big thing. Like throw the pitch, because we talk tempo. As a coach or as a player at the high level, we want our pitches to have tempo. They are the ones that are running the game. If they're working nice and fast and keeping the hitters, I guess, off balance by doing that or trying to rush them, it just makes for a better experience, not only for the playing group, but the fans watching. So I'm huge for the pitch clock, massive for it.
That's a good point, actually. I never thought about, so one of the things that, the old man used to say all the time, Lats, is like a minute between innings, like try and keep the game rolling. I mean, no one's going to have the clock out timing it, but you do try to keep it quick between innings. And something like that between innings would be ideal for junior baseball, and just even maybe not seniors and that stuff. They have a little bit more time, but yeah, it's a good point actually, Hughesy. I never thought of that. Yeah.
Why not at the seniors? Why not? I've played many a senior baseball game, and come Sunday afternoon, and you've been sitting out there for 3 hours, and it's only the 7th inning still, and you're like, well, one, we don't have much light. Different story over east where you got daylight savings, but you're like, mate, let's get through the game. Let's get it done. And I 100% think the ABL will probably adopt that at some stage in the near future. And is it that difficult to police? I know you need a clock and visible and someone to, I guess, man it, but would it be difficult?
Who could man it? Okay, third base umpire.
Yeah.
A lot of it's going to come down to the culture and training of the players in the system and how it's going to be used. The first one's a warning, then they start calling balls and strikes or whatever else on you.
Yeah.
And then there's the mindset between batters and pitchers. The batter has to engage the pitcher by 8 seconds, I think it is.
Yeah. That's tough.
And
that's that.
But the flip side is also educating what umpires we have to be able to enforce those new protocols and new rules. So, we talk about the the lack of numbers that we have now. Now we're going to throw more on them. But anyway,
it's tough.
Do
It's
you-
tough. Yeah, it'd be tough.
Considering our ABL, our Australian baseball rules are sort of based off loosely the MLB rules, is that correct, lads? When do you think we're
in a
going to
way,
see?
pretty much.
When are we going to see bigger bases?
I don't think we will.
Nah,
Never.
it's a
I don't
huge
think we will.
undertaking, eh?
So
would-
much money.
Yeah,
So much
so
money.
crazy.
I think it'll be, if they do it, it won't be the immediate future. I can't see it. But yeah, the dollars, even from junior league all the way through, you got to change all your bases, your pegs. I couldn't imagine how much it would cost.
But
Yeah.
I don't see the base as being bigger as a thing, to be honest with you.
no,
Honestly,
I don't
it's
care
one of those
either.
rules that came in a couple of years ago. I'm like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And to go back real quick and touch base on the pitch clock, I know there's a lot of issues with pitches getting hurt, and a lot of the feedback is coming to how quickly they have to repeat pitches and that stress, or I guess workload within a short period of time. I know there's a bit of chit chatter around it, so I do and understand that potentially could be a barrier. But used in the right way of keeping the game moving, I think it could be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lats, thanks so much for your time, mate. And also, it's a first for us on the podcast. You're the first guest that we've had come in wearing a robe.
It's better than the alternative, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there was a point where I just thought to myself, I thought, if I nearly lost it. Anyway, midway through that conversation. But, mate, we love you. Thank you so much. And look, hey, good luck with the rest of the season. Do you reckon you'll get you'd probably be on the crew for the championship game, eh? Come on, surely. Right?
I hope so. But it comes down to the decision makers above me. It's just like every other umpire. We just got to go out and do our job and just hope we're doing the right job. So,
Unreal.
Yeah. So it's all good.
Thanks
Lats,
mate. I just want to say real
Appreciate
quick, appreciate it, mate, and good luck, and hopefully in the future, mate, you get to, umpire a few more world games, mate. It'd be great to see you out there. So thanks for everything that you've done, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
And we're back. A huge thanks to Paul Latta for jumping on the podcast. Mate, Hughesy, that's like the longest you've ever spoken to an umpire, isn't it?
without getting injected.
Well, you did get ejected at one point, but I think you self-chose.
How's the robe? How's the robe on the guy? It's come dressed to impress.
What a guy. I mean, I don't know. I've got nothing for the robe. It's actually left me speechless. I'm going to think about that. That's very funny. I think about how funny it is that Paul Latta showed up on our podcast wearing nothing but a robe. But anyways.
Great insight. Great insight to, what they're doing up in Brisbane. I think is great, with the, the debrief and all that stuff like that. I think it's great. And it's good, connection within their community with umpiring and all that stuff like that. And always had a lot of time for Ladders, and it's great to hear some stories and talk some baseball, and he loves the game. You can tell how much he loves the game, right? So
yeah,
like all of us, it's great to see, mate. But interesting weekend of baseball, right?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, splits all around the world, splits everywhere. I saw it coming for one season, it's one series, but a bit of a shocker. Also, Sydney and Brisbane played 5 games. So either way, we were probably, I did the same thing. I was like, oh, wait, no. And then I went back and counted it up and I was like, oh, hang on, they did. So whatever, is what it is. But bit of an interesting one. I guess it's a split. It's gone down as a split, but also maybe that game was for a series past. Either way, here's what I did. I awarded no points for it. Because I don't think either of us were relatively close.
Did Sydney take 3? Sydney took 3?
Yeah, well, that's the weird thing. So here we go. So Thursday, Brisbane won. Friday, Sydney won. Saturday, Sydney won. That's 2-1 to Sydney.
Yep.
The second game on Saturday, Brisbane won. 2-2. And then Sunday, Sydney won. So they won 3-2.
Mate, what a cracking game that was. I actually watched that
was
game.
A corker, hey,
Oh, mate, back and forth, and everyone threw a punch, and then it was a great game of baseball, great last couple of innings, and
The last home run you didn't see coming either. Like they already got the lead, and the next thing you know, he's like, no, here's another one. Like,
yeah, I mean, like it's the ballpark there, right? You saw the home runs on the weekend. I think Brizzy might have had 10. I think Sydney had 9, and I think they had 10 for the whole year, right? And you never know at Brisbane, like a close game. We'd call a bloop and a blast podcast, but it literally is that, like a bloop and all of a sudden a blast, and the game changes like that too. So I think I do have to say Brisbane have been playing some really good baseball the last couple of weeks, and it's great to see them, challenge some teams and essentially, the league leader in Sydney, and be able to go out there and, one win away from winning that series. Huge weekend for them, and but I guess Sydney walk away with it, and they're still sitting on top.
yeah, I think a lot of the because there's a few interruptions and stuff like that, like a bit of weather here and there, and I think some of those situations I reckon might have been a different outcome. But that last game on Sunday, man, that was sick. I was at home watching that. That was awesome. So good to see. Brisbane's putting something together, and Sydney, hey, they're battling. So that was that. That was that series. Adelaide went to Canberra.
Well, quickly before we bounce, and it just popped into my head. With Richie I thought he hit, the walk-off, right, the home run, and then, fully jumped up and brought the ball back and kept it in the game, like kept the ball in the ballpark, and essentially that saved the game for Sydney. They went on to win the game. So just a wild play there late in the game that essentially saved it for Sydney. So could have gone either way, that series.
Yeah, and also I've got to do this. I'm sorry, mate, but big shout out to my mate Will Riley, Lismore guy, playing for the Bandits. He had a pretty good series. Big shout out to Will, legend. So moving forward, Adelaide went down to Canberra, or up to Canberra for Adelaide, but that was a split again, trading back and forth. A lot of so Friday, Canberra win 5-2. Mahoney does Mahoney things, or as Hughesy likes to call him, Mahoney. He gets a little George W there on the Friday. Saturday, Adelaide come up with a win. So 5-3 on that one, on the Saturday game. First of the doubleheader. Second game, Adelaide comes out, pumps them, 8-1. Another win for Osterberg. And then Sunday, Canberra comes back, 8-5. So pretty good little series there from both teams. Did you catch much of that series at all?
A little bit. Shout out to TVS.
Of course, yeah. Oh my god,
on the record. So that was, I guess, going to happen within time. So that's big shout out to one of our favourites. Once again, the Sunday game, right? Like, they come to that game. Adelaide went up early. I think there was a couple of mistakes there that cost them a run or two early in that game. But Canberra will be able to fight back and tie that game up. And then essentially, there was an error late in the game that. On a bunt play, throw to third, that went away, and they scored 2 runs, and that was kind of it. So I think that was a game there that, Adelaide definitely let slip. But yeah, it's another great game of baseball on Sunday. I do have to say I did not do much on Sunday. I went from cricket to watching the ABL back-to-back games, and then waited out for the Perth Heat female Aces game Sunday night. So it was a full day of sport watching for me. It was good to watch some really good games on Sunday.
So I dragged my missus out to the baseball park on Friday because we had to go and see a bloke, that Bloopstein guy. He was getting around. He borrowed $50 off me. So if anyone sees him, but he owes me $50, that character. So I had to drag her out there, and then I told her, I said, we're not going to stay the whole game. It's all right. We'll just go out for this. Got to meet this Bloopstein guy and come back. And then I went out Saturday night there to the ballpark. So I thought to myself, better try and spend some time with the cheese and kisses. On Sunday, but I found myself just like sneaking in some of the Heat game on streamer on the phone. I'm like, the boys are up. So, but we'll get to that series as well. So I'm envious of you, mate. You're going through the cricket and watching it all. Sounds unreal. So
let's talk about Bloopstein real quick, mate. Like, that was an ambush. I had no idea. I got a text message from my mate Singy going, sexy doing sexy things. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I jumped on the ground. I was like, knew straight away he's posted something. And I jumped on there and my jaw just hit the ground. I was like, what is this guy on? So mate, I do have to say it was probably one of the funnier things I've seen. And thank you to all the players and Deeves, the coaches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For on board.
Should say that. Yeah, huge thanks to the guys because they were very gracious. I messaged TK afterwards and I said, you were way too cool for that. Like, you are way too cool about all that. Thank you so much. And I will never make you do anything like that again. Like, I promise. You're just like, like, there's a point where Bloopstein was recording, and he said there was some direction from the person behind the camera, my missus, and I said, "Hey, just relax. Like, we've got the modern day goat right here. We're just let's start pushing him around." Like,
I think everybody at home is still confused about Kiz. Kiz is one of the funniest guys going around, and not many people know Kiz very well. And when he was talking about it, I was like, mate, I still don't know. Are they related or not? Yep. And then for him to keep the straight face, clearly they're not related, but to see him keep the straight face, just absolute in stitches, mate.
No, it was good. I got lucky, man. And Deebs jumped in on I didn't get lucky. Bloopstein got lucky. Deebs jumped in on the train. You know the funniest part? There was people, like, because I didn't really tell anyone. I kind of told Kieran. I didn't tell you. I told Kieran, and I asked Jesse and, like, Jake, Bowie if it would be cool to, like, do it and whatever. And, like, my big thing is, like, doing stuff like that. Like, I don't want to be in anyone's way. Like, first of all, like, I don't want to do that. But yeah, they were cool. And then I didn't tell anyone, like, no one else. So, like, I showed up, and then, like, I showed up, and I'm like thinking everyone's there, cool, whatever. AK called, like, a bit of a meeting, impromptu meeting, and so I'm there jawing off to Sorps, all dressed up. Oh, not me, Bloopstein's there jawing off to Sorps, and then they're like trying to sit down and have a meeting. I thought, oh no, we're dead in the water here. I've got to get out of here. But after that, that was cool. Great. So got very lucky. But yeah, if anyone sees Bloopstein, he owes me $50. Let's move forward. Let's go on to, obviously, that season, that series. Melbourne Aces came to Perth Friday night. Good night for the Heaters. They got up. Let me just pull it up, make sure I'm right there. Yeah, 11-5 for the Perth Heat. Tucker Smith with a win there. They got to trip pretty early on, but yeah. The Heat just got out and got it done.
Both teams swung the bats really well that game.
Yeah. Saturday though, bit hard when you got Marty Morimondo on the mound doing his thing. Bit unlucky for Bowie. I think there was a few. I didn't catch all of that, but from what I was seeing, there was a few errors that sort of led to a few miscommunications and stuff that led to a couple of runs early. But yeah, again. Melbourne Aces got up 8-5 in game one, and then game two of that doubleheader was sick. It was such a vibe, mate. The Spencer game, there was people everywhere. I mean, there's people everywhere for the first game, but what a vibe. So much fun. TK gets 500 regular season hits, which is just amazing, right? Like, this is unfathomable. And yeah, just absolute buzz around the ballpark. Sure, Heat went down in a close one, a bit of a heartbreaker, but Robbie Glendenning just comes out and just shoves. Like,
he did 6 for 6, I think, on Saturday. But you know, he's definitely found his groove and swinging the bat really well on, especially over through the whole weekend. I don't know if he got picked up a hit on Sunday or not. There wasn't too many hits there for Melbourne, but you know, that Saturday, just touching base on that, and clearly I'm wearing my Claxton Shield shirt, the anniversary shirt that I went and dusted out. It is a medium, and when I put it on, I was like, oh God, am I really doing this? So, but this jersey has all the names of the state players and Heat players over the years through that journey. So it took me a bit of time to find my name on there, but it is on there. And just a great event. I think WA and, you know, Baseball WA, the Perth Heat and the committee do a really good job celebrating past players. And they had past players night down there, and they had the presentation of Moilo for his Baseball WA Hall of Fame induction, which was great. Love hearing Moilo speak. They had a little bit of, you know, what he had to say before the game, which was great. And, you know, he's still a WA guy at heart as much as he's, you know, over here in Melbourne and living over in the States too. So, you know, unfortunately he lost his dad this year, which was obviously pretty sad for the baseball community, you know, and his mum's, you know, kind of doing a bit tough at the moment, but to see him out, he's always got a smile on his face. You can always get the crowd laughing and smiling and stuff. So big shout out to Moilo for that. But yeah, to see all the faces out there on the field, it's great. You know, all the old Heat boys, all the, you know, I guess from the current ABL, seeing those guys mixed together, have a few beers up there in the deck. It's great to see. And then to cap that off, we throw it into the team Spencer night too. So I think it was like 2,500 or something like that at the game, and when they kind of panning around before the game, you knew it was packed, right? So everyone came out to support a great cause, and I think they're always really well supported in that last series before the end of the season. Unfortunately, they have to go play 2 games, one in Sydney, one in Canberra over the next 2 weeks. So it's a bit of travel for the boys, but that Sunday game they came out and banged, and congratulations to TK with his 500th hit. True TK fashion, just got the hit, got on first base, and there's no fanfare for him. He's just like he wants to move on from it, right?
It was so cool, but it was also just give him, I was expecting him to give the old captain's tip of the cap or something, but he just didn't. He just stood there and looked around, and it was just man, that was special.
Mate, it's TK, and he's so competitive that he'd just be frustrated that he didn't do it quicker. And he kind of said that. I messaged him after the game and said, "Mate, congrats, awesome stuff." And first thing he says, he's like, "Mate, I should have got that done earlier." And I thought he was pretty unlucky. The boys from Melbourne made some really good plays on him in the games before that too. So, and they're big Sorps, 100th appearance for Sorps in the ABL, longevity right there, and he's been around for so long now, and just another accolade for him underneath his belt too. So, I guess the 2-2 split there, nothing gained there, nothing lost for the Heat. They still have that lead over the Aces, but plenty can happen over the next couple of weeks. We know that.
Absolutely. And one little bit of trivia that I thought was going to be good. Morgs, broadcast announcer for the Heat, and obviously podcaster with Baseball's Best Mate. He actually brought up that in the broadcast that the first hit TK got was against Steve Kent. And he had an opportunity at the end of game 2 to get his 500th against him. And I thought to myself, man, that would have, for me, I like that stuff. I like that sort of story and that kind of a thing. But didn't happen. That's all right. Doesn't matter. But yeah, it was, I don't know, just baseball's good, isn't it? I'll tell you what.
So, and you brought up Kenty, right? He threw the first 3 games.
Oh,
he
right?
pitched in the doubleheader, pitched in both games, came out and got that out against TK in game 2, right? So it's one of those things that, for a guy like that, when you've got a veteran that can, just give me the ball, I'll go out there and compete. And he is a huge competitor too, right? So, just another guy that, Australian baseball has been blessed to have, and hugely competitive. Not sure when the end is near with Kenty, but it's, we've shared a lot of good memories together. So quick shout out to Kenty for doing that over the weekend.
I said it on the broadcast, and I'll say it again here, that I think Kenty gives me CC with the Yankees vibes, like Godfather. He kind of
and he's always like
he's got right.
His shirt back and mate, you're gonna rip your shirt when you keep pulling. He's like by the end of it, his shirt's all the way up here. No, I love it.
Just the big horse, he's just out there doing big horse things. So anyways, that's another shove. So a split. Sorry. So so I get a point for the split on the Canberra series. Sorry about that. It's going to take it to 8-3.
Just going further and further behind.
Well, I've thought about it. I'm going to do it for you. We've got a few rounds. But guess what?
Points. The double points last. Or does double points don't happen now?
I reckon round 9 double points. Give yourself a really good shot. Okay. Give yourself a good shot, because then round 10,
I've done so good this year, haven't I?
It's look, it's a double-edged sword. If I go and get a perfect round of double points, it's all over. It's all over.
Good point.
I've got to work out what the punishment's going to be, but we'll work that out. I'll tell you about that as we get there. But I might not. It might be you. So it's 8-3. So let's move on to round 9 and what's going to happen there. Who's going where? What games have we got? Obviously, we'll start here Thursday. Perth Heat, they're going over to Canberra. Do you want to go first? I'll allow you to pick first if you want, or would you prefer me to pick first?
You go. Then I can adjust.
You can adjust. Yep, that's fair. It is a double points round. There you go. Golden ball round. Cue the animation. We don't have any animation. Don't have the budget for it. I'm gonna. It's a hard one. I'm gonna go 2-2 split again. There you go. Not trying to throw you a softball.
You've given me options now. You've definitely given me options with this. Heat swung the bat so well on the weekend. They scored a lot of runs. I wish we did this on Thursday when the rosters have been announced and we can just kind of sit back and have a little bit more info.
Stop looking. Stop padding. as they say in the business.
I think Canberra are one starter short on the Sunday. I do feel that.
Yeah.
Noticed that on the weekend. They came back and,
But the Heats
got through it.
bullpen isn't necessarily the strongest either. They're pretty depleted in the bullpen too.
Yeah, but if you look at it, they closed the Tyler Beasley only threw in one game, and that was Sunday for one inning, right? So,
Good point.
there's more there. Is this series? Is it Friday? No, it's Thursday through. Is it Thursday through Sunday?
I will confirm you. Yes, I'm aware that changes for you.
I'm gonna go Heat 3-1.
Okay, I love that. Love that from you. That's awesome. Normally I go 3-1 for the Heat. That's like my emotional pick. There you go. All right, so I've gone 2-2 split. Canberra Cavalry versus Perth.
Can I tell you why? I think TK.
Yeah, for sure.
TK's found his groove. Like I've noticed he's taking some really good swings on the weekend. Probably didn't get rewarded for as well as he swung the bat. Bojo looks locked in. Hawley had a good weekend. Jesse keeps doing his thing. Armstrong keeps doing his thing. There's some big hits from the imports too. So I think the offense is there. So I'll definitely that's probably where I see the difference. Nothing came away from Canberra because I think they played fantastic all season.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things that I think for the Heat this weekend, clearly is huge for all teams, but I'm going to go Perth Heat, and they're my reasons why.
We went through the recap and we didn't talk about like Bodge hitting those dingers. I mean, like all that as well. Like Hawley banged a couple. I mean, yeah, of course, Jess Williams just dropping down bunts, doing things. Byron Armstrong took a bunch of really good at-bats that I thought I was yeah. Anyways, yeah. Okay, 3-1 Perth Heat for Hughesy, 2-2 for me. Let's move on to Sydney Blue Sox going down to Melbourne. Well, look, if the time is now for Melbourne, I mean, the time was 3 weeks ago for Melbourne, let's be real. But somehow they're still in this thing. You know what I mean? Splits and all of that. Do you want me to go first again?
Yeah. Sacrifice some time.
It's a hard one.
It's been so on Melbourne all year, just waiting for him to click. But
it's a hard one. And I also checked this one. Do they have extra games? It's a 5-game series. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so that changes a few things. I'm going to say 3-2 to the Sydney Blue Sox.
God.
Good pick, isn't it?
Interesting to find out whether or not they're allowed an additional player due to the 5 games. I'm not sure if they are or if they're not. Club baseball does kick off back here in Melbourne this weekend. So there will be no, I guess, those club import guys available. They'll all be pitching for their teams. So the guys that came in 2 weeks ago aren't available this week. They did pick
Saturday has a double header as well, just because I know you'll ask me about that. Yeah. Saturday does have a doubleheader.
It's such 5 games, 4 days. It's really, really, really
that would
difficult.
Be rough.
Sydney were lucky to win 3 on the weekend. I do have to say that.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
No, just looking at the scores and the games and stuff like that. They were really tight. Okay. They were just able to, I guess, get essentially the clutch hit and stuff like that. Colin Wynn, by the way, another great outing for him.
You love Colin Wynn.
He comes in, relieves a game, and then comes out and starts a game. I just think that's fantastic.
Did my brother shove? I actually missed his start. Don't tell him that. He's gonna.
Wellesley?
I might be out of the family.
Alex?
Yeah, I missed Alex's start. Actually, I think I missed both their starts. That was short. That was short-lived.
me buying time again. This is solely just me buying time again. I'm so good at just buying time to let the.
Come on now. It's supposed to be a quick podcast.
You did Sydney 3-2.
I did 3-2 Sydney.
I'll go Melbourne 3-2.
Hey, that would cause waves. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All
that's
right.
4 points. That's possible 4 points. I can catch up.
Sorry, I was just trying to find the stats from my brother's game, but that's all right. I'll go back to the actual thing. Okay, so 3-2 for you for the Melbourne Aces.
Just staying on. I'm just riding them also, hey boys, if you're listening to this podcast, Melbourne Aces, I've been on you all year. Let's go.
I'm so going to clip that up, man. Yep, thank you. That's awesome. And of course, Brisbane going down to Adelaide. It's a hard one. And Adelaide's
playing well, right?
And Adelaide's such a anything can happen. That's the vibe I get down there in Adelaide. Hey, like at the beach, like you're just not quite sure what's going to happen. down there. Do you want me to go first again, or do you have an idea?
No, you have to. No, you have to. So then I can choose something different, and you can't choose the same as me just to push a point.
No, and I'm not. I'm deliberately not trying to do that, but I'm also like going with picks that I think. Part of me thinks that. So this is a hard one for me. This is my thought process, right? Brisbane's sort of got this thing where they're like, you know what, like. Nah, stuff is, and we have been pretty hard on them. I've been pretty hard on them with the picks, right? Predominantly going 3-1 against them all season, and they've just proved me wrong the last like 3 or 4 weeks, right? So they've kind of come out and gone, no, we're cool. And since they've got maybe a new crop of imports, Brandon McNair, that guy, like, oh my god, holy hell, right? And then a bunch of other guys are starting to work it out as well. So there's that. The pitching pretty good. So. Part of me wants to go 2-2 split, but also like it's Adelaide and Adelaide's at Adelaide and you just don't know what to do. So like Adelaide again, I've said this all season or the last few weeks that Adelaide are this team that know how to win. They get to the 6th or 7th inning. And if they're behind, they know what they're going to do. They're just comfortable in that spot, or they can just put the foot down even more, you know, and that's just them. It's like their own little, it's like Bazball, but for the Giants. I think round 9, 10-round season, we're down in Adelaide. You're going to see some chaos on the Saturday. That's probably going to carry over to the Sunday. I'm sorry, Brisbane, but I'm going to say 3-1 Giants.
I should have gone first too. I think...
That's 49 to 51% for me because I was going to go for the 2-2 split because I firmly believe that Brisbane's out to just stick it. So, anyways.
Yeah. Bowling is always a tough outing, right?
Right. Nasty.
That's the game. You know, Collinsy threw well on the weekend. You know, so you got those 2 good lefties. And they've got
McDonald. He's been doing pretty well.
Man, he's been pitching really well too, right? I think he might have given up 2, maybe 3 runs over his last 2 starts total. So he's been pitching really well. Ooh, he might have just tweaked me. Left-handed, lefty on lefty. Collinsy's not so much a lefty guy, but, you know, they do have quite a few left-handed hitters for Adelaide.
It's nasty, hey? It's nasty that Brisbane, like, got hot in, like, a little bit. Now we're like, oh, we've really got to think about all these series.
I'm going to go split, and the reason why... Do I win if Brisbane go 3-1 with a 2-2 because it's better than you?
Sure.
Because I just feel that with Brisbane's lefty starters, like that's 2 games, Adelaide probably got 5, maybe 6 lefties in their lineup, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the splito 2-2.
Hughesy throws the splitter. 2-2. It's a ballerina. Love to hear that. There you go. Well, double points round. So there's a bit on offer. And I think from memory, I don't have it all. I'll have a look. But I tell you what, there's you could make up a fair chunk of change this weekend, mate.
I could have the lead. I could take the lead.
Imagine. It's 8-3 at the moment.
There'll be scenes. There'll just be scenes.
A perfect round from Hughesy gets him there. There will be absolute scenes if you can go and get a perfect round. But hey, I wish you all the best, mate. Yeah, I'm just going to sit up here in my ivory tower with this massive 5-point lead that I've got over you at the moment and just lord it over you. We appreciate you guys for jumping in on the podcast today. As you listen to this, it's Thursday. Baseball starts. It's that time of the week. Go and jump in and enjoy the ABL. It's round 9. If you haven't already, make sure you hit up at Bloop Blast Podcast on all the socials. We're on the Facebook. We're on the Instagram. We've even got a TikTok. If Hughesy can hear this, mate, I've lost you, but we've got 7 followers on TikTok now. Let's go. We'll be monetized in no time at all. Wherever you listen to the podcast, make sure you give us a little review. If you listen on Spotify or if you listen on Apple Podcasts, it lives like a 5-star review, leaves a 2-star review. Probably not a 2-star review. Leave us a 5-star. But it really makes a whole heap of difference for us if you can do that for us. We appreciate you. Tell a friend, tell your mates, share all the fun stuff. We've got some fun videos coming out for the rest of this week. And look, hey, Hughesy's not here, but he just sent me a text. He said, finish it off and tell everyone I love them. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate you for enjoying this episode of Bloop and a Blast. Take care. Be good to each other. Bye.
Going back. This ball's back.